Hi, my name is Lauren McCollum, and today, with the help of my visual aid, which is a PowerPoint, I'm going to be discussing why I believe that tobacco use should be illegal in the United States of America. So, my first slide here, I'm just discussing my outline, everything I'm going to go over in my PowerPoint, and what I'm going to talk to you about. So, my first slide will be what is tobacco, giving you maybe a little bit of a definition about it and a background on it if you're not totally familiar with it. My second slide is going to talk about why tobacco is bad for us, why we should never try it out, why we should stop using it if we're using it now, and why we should advocate to other people that they should definitely not use it. My third slide is going to discuss some of the diseases that tobacco can cause or that it can trigger, and just kind of go over the major health effects that tobacco use can have on you from smoking or chewing. Then my fourth slide is covering nicotine addiction. And while nicotine addiction does not necessarily have a set definition, I discuss a few of the indicators to look for when dealing with tobacco usage. My fifth slide is going to discuss secondhand smoke, which I really like to advocate for, and I think it should be discussed more. It is very harmful, and I'm just kind of giving a definition on that, and I'm going to talk about how dangerous it is. And then my last slide, I've labeled the other side, where I kind of go in and discuss maybe a smoker's point of view, why they smoke, why they can't stop, and how they feel about smoking themselves. Okay, going into my first slide, what is tobacco? Tobacco is a product prepared from the leaves of the tobacco plant by curing them. Tobacco is a very harmful and highly addictive plant when smoked or when it is absorbed into the body through another method, such as chewing, which is absorbed through your mouth, which has the highest absorption rate out of your entire body. Tobacco has been around for centuries, and there are many known diseases and harmful health effects associated with it, yet it's still allowed to be made legal and to be produced and sold. Smoking was extremely popular during the 1950s, and this is also when claims about it being harmful began to circulate, and around this time, 1950s, 1960s, is when it actually came out that it was harmful and that it began to be associated with cancer. Okay, so why is tobacco bad for us? So, smoking can cause an array of health problems. That's not a secret, that's been well known for a very long time. Those who smoke may begin to have trouble breathing due to smoke inhalation and damage. Your lungs are going to be one of the first things to show a sign of distress when you smoke, as well as your mouth if you are chewing, and even with smoking, that can cause problems. Smokers are 13% more likely to die from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, also known as COPD, than non-smokers are. Cigarette smoking is the leading cause of lung cancer, and smoking kills more people than obesity, substance abuse, and when I say substance abuse, I mean methamphetamine, cocaine, narcotic hard drugs such as these, which are very serious and which have a very high overdose rate. It also kills more people than infectious diseases, firearms, and traffic accidents. That is an astounding number if you look at those statistics. So now I'm going to go over some of the diseases that tobacco use can cause. So, start from the top of the list, COPD, which I mentioned earlier, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Lung cancer, smoking causes a really high chance of that. Cancer of the oral cavity, which you see a lot more with chewing tobacco rather than smoking, but it can still come from that. Cancer of the larynx, cancer of the esophagus, and cancer of the lung. And cancer of the larynx can be very mentally harrowing as well, because that's your voice box and you can completely lose all of your vocal abilities from that. The next one is heart disease, which is very serious. Bronchitis. It can trigger type 2 diabetes, and smoking or use of tobacco can also even trigger a stroke, which is extremely serious. So, nicotine addiction. So, as I mentioned earlier, nicotine addiction does not necessarily have a true definition because it is such a broad term, but it rather has a set of indicators, as probably any addiction would give you as well, that can kind of point out what to look for, what to watch for in somebody who is beginning using this product or even has been using this product for a while. So, highly controlled or compulsive use of tobacco, so they have to use it. They can't go a day without it. They will freak out if they can't use it or don't have access to it. Psychoactive effects, so it's messing with their head. Drug reinforced behavior. Stereotypical patterns of use. Relapse after a period of abstinence. Recurrent drug cravings, and I say drug cravings because tobacco is so like a drug in a way. It gives you that addictive personality. You crave it and you need the nicotine, and so it is so much like a drug in that way. And lastly, the use of the product without knowledge of the harmful effects. So they are so happy with the product that they're using that they choose to not pay attention to the harmful things that are happening to their body while they're using it. So next we're going to hit on secondhand smoke. So secondhand smoke is when the smoke that is exhaled from a smoker or smoke that comes from a cigarette is involuntarily inhaled by a non-smoker. So in passing, maybe this just happens once, is definitely most likely not a big deal, but living in a house with a smoker where you are constantly surrounded by it, you are getting probably as much smoke intake and inhalation as the smoker themselves, which can obviously be very, very harmful and dangerous to the non-smoker. This can trigger asthma and difficulty breathing or with lungs. Like I said earlier, this is the first thing to be affected. It can cause the same cancers that smoking does, and it can extremely affect those that are around you. And growing up in a household with somebody like that, has an absolute mental impact as well, thinking about that growing up. It's truly horrible. And going into my last slide, the other side, how do smokers feel? And honestly, a lot of times smokers do not like that they smoke, but there is a claim that, addiction is a disease. It's a claim that's been made very many times before. And while yes, that the use of tobacco can cause disease-like symptoms from withdrawal, or even just from using it can cause diseases, obviously, but it is still your own decision to use the product the first time and every time thereafter. It is your decision. There are many outlets to choose from when it comes to cutting out tobacco use. There are patches, there's gum, there's candy. There are so many different alternatives to choose from. So if you are struggling from this, please look into it. And lastly, eliminating tobacco from your life can be easy if you take the first step. I guarantee that everybody in your life is going to support this decision. They're going to try to help you as much as they can. And like I said, there are so many alternatives to help you get rid of nicotine and tobacco from your life. Thank you.